Do you want to start your first small vegetable garden, but you don't know where to start? You came to the right place, because in this video I will tell you 7 tips you can follow to increase the amount of vegetables you will grow and reduce the work you will need to put in your garden. I will help you to choose your gardening method and tell you why this is important when starting a new garden. I will tell you what is the first thing you need to learn before planting your first vegetables. Give you hints on how to plan your gardening tasks year after year. We'll discuss why starting with seeds is not the greatest idea your first year. And in the end, I will tell you how you can reduce your work in the garden with zero cost involved. And to help you find quicker what you'll need, I'll put some timestamps in the comments so you can skip to the section you'd like to hear more about. So without further ado, let's jump into the main content. My first tip for starting a small vegetable garden is not essential, but it's highly recommended. If you want to make your first gardening experience simpler. Before starting, decide what gardening method you will follow. This will make your life so much easier. Not because any of the gardening methods are the alpha and omega of gardening, but because most of them have a battle plan, a step-by-step process you can follow to grow your first vegetables. And if you don't have any experience in gardening, those guidelines will help you a lot. The only drawback is that there is a lot of gardening methods out there, and for a beginner gardener, it's hard to choose one of them. There is no-dig gardening, back-to-Eden gardening, traditional row gardening, square foot gardening, and more. But no one is right or wrong. All of them have some advantages and disadvantages, so pick one that looks familiar or that you believe in. If I need to recommend just one gardening method, I would go with square foot gardening. This method promises that you can grow the same amount of vegetables in 20% of space, with 5% of seeds and only 2% of work. And I can say that it delivers on all the promises. That's why I will stick with this method for the 2020 gardening season. If you want to learn more about square foot gardening, I will leave a playlist on the top right corner. There is one thing you can do, no matter what gardening method you choose to follow. So my second tip is to learn how to grow your soil before you learn how to grow your vegetables. Did you ever heard build your house from the ground up? I don't know why gardeners don't say grow your plants from the ground up. The soil in our vegetable gardens has the same importance as the foundation on a building, and growing your own soil is not that hard. Soil is a living thing in your garden, and as any other living thing, it can be dead or alive, sick or healthy, and the health of the soil is reflected on your plants. So if your soil is dead, meaning that it doesn't have worms or microbes in it, your plants will probably be dead soon enough. Likewise, if your soil is sick, it has some fungal disease in it, your plants will probably get infected by it. So how can you grow your own soil to be healthy and alive? One of the best things you can do is to put a good 3 to 6 inch layer of compost on top of your soil every season, preferably at the beginning of it. The compost will fit your soil and it will give it the beneficial bacteria and worms that it needs. That's why I recommend to start composting as soon as possible by building a compost bin and throwing all your kitchen scraps in it. That way you will have your own compost next year ready to fit your soil. Following my next tip can and will increase the chances of growing a successful garden. So I strongly recommend that you plan what you'll sow, plant or harvest during the gardening season, month by month. This is important so you don't rush things, especially now when the weather is a little warmer, because it's tempting to go outside and plant some vegetables. But in my climate, that is too soon, because our last frost date is the beginning of May. By having a plan written month by month, you can check it every month and know what are the tasks you need to do in your garden, vegetables you need to sow, and what you will harvest and need that month. And by not rushing things, you will increase the chances of having your plants healthy and happy. So happy in fact that you will smash that like button. When planning what you'll sow, plant and eat, also take in consideration what you eat, but what you can do if you don't have enough space to grow all the vegetables that you want to eat. Here you can take 3 different approaches. One is to grow what you enjoy eating the most. One is to grow vegetables that are the most expensive in your local supermarkets. And the last one, which is one that I prefer, is to grow crops that produce the most yields over the growing season. So fruits like tomatoes, zucchini, cucumbers or eggplants, and not vegetables like carrots, onions, cabbages and so on. I have another tip on how to increase the yields, especially if you have a small garden, that I will share later on in this video, so stick around until the end. Now that you decided what you will plant, where do you start? Do you really need to buy all the seeding pots, grow lights, and other materials to start your vegetables from seeds? I wouldn't recommend that. In my opinion, you have enough on your hand with planning and building your garden, and you don't need to stress yourself by trying to grow all the vegetables from seeds. So go to your local nursery and buy some seedlings there. Besides releasing you from some unneeded stress, this will also have some other beneficial impacts on your growing season. When you will buy your seedlings, they will probably be a few months old. A few months that you don't need to wait. A few months that you can skip to prolong the growing season. If you have, let's say, 110 days long growing season, you will most likely lose the first 30 to 40 days, because your plants will need to grow before producing any fruits. By having a plant that's already 30 to 40 days old, you will skip this growing period and will actually have a 110 day long growing season. A 110 days where you can enjoy and pick your vegetables. Also, when buying your seedlings, you can check if they're healthy, strong, and with no defects. That way you can select the strongest plants that will produce you more in the long run. Do you like this kind of content? Smash that like button to let me know, and consider subscribing if you want to hear more gardening tips. But no matter how strong and healthy some of your seedlings will look like, you'll need to protect them. Most of the plants in your garden are not delicious just to you, but they're also inviting for other animals, like slugs and other pests, so you'll need to protect them. There are many pests and diseases you will need to protect your plants from. Slugs, caterpillars, and leaf mold, just to name a few common ones. But luckily, you can easily protect your plants from those common pests. For slugs, just make a simple beer trap. All you need is an old ice cream container and some old beer. Make some holes into the container and pour the beer inside. The slugs will be attracted by the beer, will crawl in it, and drown. To protect your tomatoes from leaf mold, you'll need to one stem prune them, to allow enough airflow, and build them a roof. In that way, the rain won't fall on them, and the leaves will be protected from the mold. Brassica family, on the other hand, is more susceptible to cabbage worms, and one way to protect them is to build a hoop cover with some netting or row cover. That way you will physically prevent to the butterfly of the cabbage worms to lay eggs on your plants. Remember that I told you I'll give you one tip to increase your yields in the small garden? Here it is. Grow vertically. This is the most effective way to increase your growing space. All the plants that usually grow on the ground and take much space can be trained to grow on a trellis. This will theoretically increase your growing space and allows you to grow more than your space allows you to do. Building a trellis is not that hard, and it's absolutely free. I showed you that you can do it completely for free with some branches, and the end result is stunning. Just imagine how beautiful this trellis will be when the cucumber plants will cover it. But not only cucumbers. I could release tomatoes, squash, melons, beans or any other vining plants up here. Another tip I can give you is to work less in your garden. No, not by coming less to your garden, but by working smarter. There is one thing you can do that will retain moisture in the garden, so you'll need to water less. It will inhibit weed growth, so you'll need to weed less, and will fit your soil to make it even more fertile. I'm talking about mulching. It's simple, inexpensive and very effective. So effective that in my opinion it cuts your work by 75%. I did it last year and I will do it until I garden. You can use many materials to mulch. You can use compost, straw, grass clippings, wood chips or leaves. Most of these things you can find locally, for free, so there is no excuse why you won't do it. So for those of you who stuck to the end, I have 6 bonus tips to start your new garden. Now if you're interested to hear what's the optimal raised bed size, where to start your garden and some more very helpful tips, you can click on the video that pop on the screen. If you enjoyed in this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more gardening tips and tricks. Happy gardening!